Thank you so much for joining me in this video. I recently came across a book called as The Upside of Stress. Why stress is so good for us and how to make stress good and working for us. Written by Kelly McGonigal. She is one of the reputed professors in Stanford University of USA. And in this book, she came across with a lot of data and representation about how modern age stress management can be done. And I thought of sharing a few ideas after reading that book in this video. Don't worry, this video is not going to be getting long. It's going to be a tiny video, maybe for about 5 or 6 minutes if you could spend time on it. Now let us talk about stress. This particular subject has got lots and lots of buzz thinking. So many people speak about stress. Some people give quality ideas for controlling stress. But we need to get the undermining level of fact about stress. Point number one is a statistics that I recently read in one of the articles. And it's a very interesting statistics. It states that the people who consider stress as bad for them have about 40% of possibility of quick death. And the people who don't consider stress as a bad one, who consider stress as a helping factor, and stress is good for them, their chance of getting a quick death is zero. All right. So you must be spiritually arguing with me, stating that a person's death is written somewhere in the spiritual epitome, and the person goes to the heaven only at a certain point of time. I agree with all the spiritual note, and I agree with all the kind of argument that you are going to bring up. But stress is a science. Stress management is a science again. So when it comes to the understanding of feeling that stress is good and stress is bad, these two heads are very important to be considered. So how do you think? How are you considering your stress? When was the last time you felt so stressed? And how did you consider that stress? Did you consider the stress as a good thing for you or a bad thing for you? So you got to tell me that first. If you have been considering stress as a working factor, as a helping factor, I think the stress is really going to help you out. Now let us discuss about a specific example. Right? So let us assume a man who was walking on the street and suddenly discovers that his house is under fire. So he runs towards the house and he finds the house is set on fire. So instantaneously the man's biological reaction will be very much, his adrenaline will be pumping, his heart rate will be increasing, and the intention immediately, the emergency intention must be to get into the house and safeguard his family members. And during this process, the man gets 3 bodily reactions. First bodily reaction, he gets a lot of sweating. Second bodily reaction, his heart rate increases. Third bodily reaction is his breath increases. Now these 3 biological factors in that man, in that particular minute, is actually helping him. I mean, this particular set of reactions is actually helping him to get inside the house. His muscle gets more strong and his agility gets more strong, and during this particular dangerous zone, his brain starts working even more faster, and he tries to pull all the family members out, and eventually he rescues all the family members out of the fire. So here, it's a typical case of stress helping that man to rescue his family members from the fire. And do you remember the 3 bodily reactions I have mentioned? Reaction number 1, breath rate increasing. Reaction number 2, heart rate increasing. And reaction number 3, perspiration. The whole body sweating. These 3 things are the same things that are happening when you go and stand on the stage in front of people. These 3 things are the same things that are happening when you are going and attending the interview, right? So what difference do you see between attending the interview, standing on the stage in front of 50 people, and getting into a very dangerous zone of a fire-set house for rescuing your family members? In the fire-set house case, you use the stress. And in the stage appearance and in the interview, you allow the stress to consume you. That's the only difference. But all the biological changes that had been happening in all these 3 situations are quite one and the same. One thing helped you and the other 2 things are not helping you. So it is all inside here. So please understand this mechanism about stress, because that is what is more important. Because whenever you are stressed, there is a chemical called as oxytocin, OXYTOCIN. Oxytocin is getting secreted into your brain. And that oxytocin is very good for your health. Right? The same oxytocin is the chemical that is generated when you touch people. When somebody is putting the hand over your shoulder, giving some solace or a friendly gesture, the same chemical is being secreted into the brain. And the same chemical, oxytocin, is secreted when you are stressed as well. So what you got to understand is stress is good for you, right? So basically, don't take stress as a bad thing. And right now, after seeing all this kind of an ideology about stress, the next point that we need to consider is another interesting data, a statistic that has been very much on the buzz in Stanford University again. The articles that I read was from Stanford University. It says the developed countries' stress rate is more than the developing country. Now, I would call India as a developed country. As a patriotic Indian, I would say India as a developed country. We use technology, we use modern evolutions, and we have a lot of things to make our life as a standardized one. We use the internet for compressing the decades into days, learning a lot of things. We are a developed nation right now. So if we take developed nations like our own India, or United States of America, or China, here, stress, the rate of stress is more. Whereas developing countries like Kenya or Africa or any other downturn countries which are not very good in terms of technology, where only poverty and freedom of people is being compromised. In those developing countries, stress management is not very much essential. The stress over in those countries is just 5%. But in developed countries, the stress is more than 40% because of the technology that we are using. The more powerful the life turns, the more stressful we become. You own a car, you own a smartphone, you own a building, you own a few stocks in the share market, and you own a very good commendable network in all parts of the globe. There is every chance that you can be very much stressed quite fast. Because basically, being a person of this stature, owning these things that I have mentioned, you never do single task, you do multitask, am I right? At any single point of time when you attend a meeting for about 30 minutes, and after 30 minutes time you take your phone and you get into the push notifications of your phone, you get almost about 150 notifications on your phone. And out of this 150 notifications, you see only 50 notifications. And out of those 50 notifications, around 20-25 notifications take your energy out. That's a stress. So what I am asking you to do is understand that your own resourceful life might be the cause for your stress as well. So you need to be a little organized in terms of your resource usage. Stop multitasking. If you want to avoid stress, stop multitasking. And there are two kinds of work: deep work, shallow work. Deep workers work in a particular task without any distractions. Shallow workers work in that same particular task, having got all the distractions coming and consuming them. So think about this question: are you a deep worker or a shallow worker? Let's say, for example, I give you a work at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and I want you to finish the work in 1 o'clock. 60 minutes is the time, and the 60 minutes, how much intensive focus you have towards that particular task. If you say in the 60 minutes I didn't even gaze my phone, then you are a deep worker. In the 60 minutes I did not want to think about my family and my troublesome situations that I am undergoing now, then you are a deep worker. But if you rather say that in the 60 minutes time, in the first to 5th minute I gazed my phone, in the second 10th minute I had a phone call, and then in the 15th minute I started thinking about my bills, in the 20th or 25th minute I started thinking about the troublesome situations that I'm having back at home, then you're a shallow worker. So it's a choice. Whether being a deep worker or a shallow worker is a choice. Please understand that your brain is programmed. For example, at 12 o'clock after starting the task, at 12:05 you take the phone and you gaze the notification. Your brain is conditioned. Even at 12:20, there are no more notifications. Still, your brain will induce you to take the phone and gaze at the phone. Right? Your mind starts craving for notifications. Your mind starts craving for some alerts on the phone because your brain is being programmed. So therefore, you always remain as a shallow worker. And this, every aspect of being a shallow worker leads eventually to stress. That's the whole point over here. So there are three things you need to adopt, and based upon whatever the things that you have watched in my video right now, up till now, there are three things. To make the long story short, number one, stress is a helpful agent. Consider stress as a helpful agent. Number two, whether the bodily reactions and mental reactions, the bodily reactions like the breathing, the heart rate increasing, and the sweat, and the oxytocin that is secreted into the brain, whether the bodily reactions are going to help you or is going to make you pass you out, choice is yours. You need to make a choice over here in your head. And the third thing is, try to be a deep worker as much as possible. Avoid distractions. When you're concentrating on the task, concentrate on that task. It's called as the monastery approach in psychology. Monastery approach means you're like a monk. You don't think about anything else when you are working into the task. Remember mindfulness? In one of my previous videos I spoke about mindfulness. Mindfulness is focusing on that particular task and nothing else. That's called as monastery approach. So maybe these three things will definitely help you out. What I have done here is, I haven't given you any sort of presentation or jotted down points of taking care of the stress. But what I have done here in the short video is I have made you think or realign your thinking from a different origin as far as stress is concerned. Help stress basically to help you see stress as a helping agent. Don't see stress as a jeopardizer. Don't see stress as a negative agent. Stress is good at some point of time. All right. And that's what is written in the book, The Upside of Stress, written by Kelly McGonigal. So basically speaking, my dear friends, I wanted to thank you. I wanted to give this piece of information that I have read in the book, and I have also wanted to give a different origin of thinking about stress. So hope this video is helpful to you, and I'll be meeting you in the next video. Stay strong and give handshake to stress. Don't run away from stress. Thank you.